County jail work crews are supposed to help keep the entire county clean. But we've discovered many of those prisoner details are spending a lot of time cleaning up one particular neighborhood around one particular man's property. That man happens to be a powerful politician. Katie Kim got people to talk who didn't want to on tonight's special assignment.
Who called you to clean around the house around the commissioner's home?
I'd have to check. I don't know. It may have been Commissioner De La Cruz himself.
Majority of the addresses were in particular areas, which to me were red flags.
It's kind of like when you have visitors to your home, you kind of clean up your home.
Bernalillo County Commissioner Art De La Cruz has a lot of property to clean. He lives on the same sprawling South Valley spread where he grew up.
We don't have many sidewalks in the South Valley, and consequently, by August, you have a fair number of weeds and usually pretty tall.
One summer day, Commissioner De La Cruz got some help yanking those pesky weeds in his neighborhood. Meet the inmates from the county jail's community custody program, known as CCP. They're a group of inmates with ankle monitors who have to clean along major county roads to stay out of jail. MDC Captain Ray Gonzalez oversees the CCP detail.
We should not be cleaning any type of private residence.
But that did not stop the detail from visiting a few South Valley homes last summer. According to jail records obtained by News 13, inmates were sent to Commissioner De La Cruz's address and to the homes of his friends. In fact, the CCP detail was in De La Cruz's commission district, one of 5 in the county, 80% of the time over the last year. That's not the way it's supposed to work, and it caught the attention of higher-ups at the jail.
I reported everything directly to the chief.
Jail administrators launched a preliminary investigation and put the man who's in charge of the CCP detail on notice. Ernie Metzger is a friend of Commissioner De La Cruz. He gave us a few different answers when we caught up with him last week.
Has Commissioner De La Cruz asked you to go out to his house?
Never. We've never gone to any private residences.
Our records seem to contradict that, so we showed them to Metzger.
That is a private residence, that is a private residence, and that is a private residence. This is Commissioner De La Cruz's personal residence. So where exactly were they cleaning?
Probably we were doing the streets around the area.
Metzger later admitted the detail was cleaning right in front of De La Cruz's house, and the commissioner asked him to. But he claims inmates were never on his property.
Do you understand that this might look a little suspect? The address that they're being sent to is the commissioner's home?
It wasn't his home, though. It was the street that he's asked us to clean all around the area outside of the homes.
So he's asking you to clean around his home and his friends' homes?
No. He'll just say, well, could you go clean this area for us? And we do it, and that's what we do.
We asked Commissioner De La Cruz about it.
Nobody ever stepped on my property. I just want to make that clear right now.
De La Cruz does admit his office sent Metzger and the CCP detail to clean his neighborhood and his friends' neighborhoods. Those areas had been chosen, the commissioner claims, for an annual garden tour.
The garden center wanted the roadways to look decent.
De La Cruz says he was just helping a local nonprofit. As for why the detail spends all that time in his district, De La Cruz says his district has the biggest needs, so he calls his friend Metzger more than the other commissioners. Jail administrators found serious problems here, so whatever happened to that investigation? MDC sent these documents to the County Human Resources Department for further review last December. HR says it took a quick look at the findings and decided it was a jail matter and handed it back to the top man at the MDC. Jail boss Tom Swistak says he doesn't remember that, so now 7 months have gone by and not one person has been asked one question about where the CCP detail was cleaning and why. Swistak admits the investigation fell through the cracks. Until now. Our questions in the last few weeks have the county scrambling and vowing to at least conduct a proper investigation. It'll take a lot of work, including tracking down the dozens of inmates who were sent to clean around Commissioner De La Cruz's home more than a year ago. De La Cruz says he welcomes the investigation.
I hope that later, when it shows that nothing occurred inappropriate, at least related to this commissioner, that you would air that as well.
And we will. On special assignment, Katie Kim, KRQE News 13.
This is not the first time Commissioner De La Cruz has found himself in the hot seat. Last year, he was accused of using his weight as a county commissioner to help get a high school wrestler who was suspended for bullying into the state tournament. The year before that, he intervened when a friend's son flunked an exam to get into the sheriff's department. In those cases, like this one, De La Cruz insists he was not showing any favoritism, that he was simply helping people. To see a detailed map of the CCP crew's work sites over the last year, the investigative documents, and more, just head over to KRQE.com.
In the last few weeks, county officials have launched an investigation and a media campaign to clear the name of a county commissioner. It all started last month when News 13's Katie Kim went on special assignment and exposed how inmates on house arrest were sent to properties owned by the commissioner and his friends. The commissioner said it was all a misunderstanding. Tonight, Katie's back with more proof that the program has big problems.
I hope that later, when it shows that nothing occurred inappropriate, at least related to this commissioner, that you would air that as well.
Bernalillo County Commissioner Art De La Cruz asked us last month to follow up on allegations that inmates on ankle monitors were sent to his neighborhood and the neighborhoods of his friends to pull weeds and clean up trash. So we did.
News 13 obtained GPS tracking data from the clean team's ankle monitors. The data are displayed on maps that show a series of dots. Each one represents an area where an inmate spent at least 30 seconds. As you can see, inmates were clearly on private properties, some owned by De La Cruz and his friends. That's against county rules. Here's what De La Cruz told us last month.
And nobody ever stepped on my property.
When we approached him later to talk about the GPS data, he changed his tune.
Nobody stepped onto my yard.
You're looking at GPS data provided by the county from July 24th, 2013. At least one inmate stepped onto property owned by De La Cruz. It's right next door to where he lives.
We've never gone to any private residences. We're not allowed to do that.
That's Ernie Metzger, the man who runs the clean team and a friend of De La Cruz. Our data prove his statement to us last month isn't true. Metzger said De La Cruz asked him to have the inmates clean along the commissioner's street. De La Cruz had been chosen for a garden tour. So had some of his friends. The commissioner asked Metzger to take the clean team to their neighborhoods too. But take a look. The inmates weren't just on the streets. GPS placed multiple inmates in the fancy courtyard of a couple who are friends of De La Cruz's from the community. The data suggests they were working.
So I'm taking this serious, okay, because somewhere the ball was dropped.
MDC boss Tom Swistak says inmates never should have been on people's property. Now he's using a private investigator to find out how that happened and who's responsible.
Who at this point that's supposed to be managing those people, were they doing their job? Okay. That's my issue.
To solve it, one of the things Swistak is considering is not allowing commissioners to call the clean team with requests.
What we need to do better is have a different neutral system that doesn't allow that kind of activity to happen.
He's also thinking about limiting the clean team to schools, community centers, and public roads, not neighborhoods. Swistak says the GPS tracking data raised two serious concerns for him: security and the possibility that officials abused their power.
It really raised a flag.
De La Cruz says the opposite. He thinks the GPS data vindicate him.
What the data showed is that for 30 seconds, somebody stepped onto a property that I rent, but it was for all of 30 seconds.
On special assignment, Katie Kim, KRQE News 13.
Now, if an inmate was in one spot at least 30 seconds, the GPS showed it. But it doesn't track exactly how long the inmate stayed in each location. The county is also investigating why the inmates also ended up on private property in the North Valley. The official investigation is expected to wrap up in the coming weeks. They promised to share it with us.
An investigation into whether a select few in the county were getting free labor from jail inmates is now complete. 2 months ago, News 13 exposed the problems with the Clean Team program and the fact that requests to look into those problems were largely ignored. But with our investigation and a cursory look by a private investigator, top county leaders are now promising changes, big and small. Here's Katie Kim on special assignment.
Whether inmates were cleaning, sneaking in a smoke break, or taking a call, an outside investigation confirmed what News 13 has been reporting for 2 months. House arrest inmates on Bernalillo County's Clean Team were on private property.
That is a private residence. That is a private residence.
Our stories.
Do you understand that this might look a little suspect?
Put top leaders at the jail on notice in July.
Somewhere the ball was dropped.
The inmates are only allowed to clean public areas, but our investigation showed a jail bigwig sent them to the fancy properties owned by County Commissioner Art De La Cruz and his friends. GPS tracking of the inmates' ankle monitors even showed they were on those private properties. Despite reports to the contrary, the GPS points in the wide open South Valley pinned down inmate locations within 1 to 5 yards. Even so, everyone involved denies there was any free cleaning happening on those private properties. Regardless, MDC boss Tom Swistak said the whole situation raises serious concerns about safety and the possibility that officials abuse their power. He promised an investigation.
The county just released a private investigator's report. Swistak said the investigation left unanswered what inmates were doing on the private properties. But he said it was crystal clear that supervisors weren't watching the inmates as closely as they should have been.
I'm pretty much looking at what's the best way to supervise this program and what does this program need to have the right kinds of supervision.
At times, there are only 3 supervisors keeping an eye on 80 inmates.
We need to figure out whether or not we need 80 bodies at once, or can we reduce that to 40, and what should be the staffing ratio.
There are other changes coming too. Right now, commissioners and citizens alike contact Ernie Metzger, the jail's CCP coordinator, directly to ask for the clean team's help. Commissioner De La Cruz, who was friends with Metzger, called him to have his neighborhood cleaned last summer. Swistak says he's working on an automated tracking system that monitors requests and levels the playing field for who can ask for the clean team's free services and how often. Metzger currently approves those requests. Will that continue? Swistak hinted that it may not.
The structure is probably going to change a little bit. Where it's going to be housed, how it's going to look. I'm literally working on that now.
Swistak hopes that changes will be in place in early November.
I've learned from this. We're trying to make some of these changes because it just will make things better.
On special assignment, Katie Kim, KRQE News 13.
Those private investigators did not interview all of the inmates who went onto the property of Commissioner De La Cruz or his friends to see if they provided free labor. That includes the man who was placed squarely on property the commissioner owns. We have more on the private investigation and the history of this case online. Just go to krqe.com.